it's hard to report that they're gonna let us take it out of their payment.
I said they work with us and take it out.
Or I need to use that
Yeah,
wording.
I would.
Because I told him we need to do it right. We're gonna do it when we got the help.
I totally agree with you.
You sure Carl and Trent wasn't gonna be
be in person that day. I really think it's gonna be a time that we really need to be together and see each other and communicate and get any discussion out on the table that day.
Master Coomer and Sarton. You guys can get a copy before you leave today to take with you. Master Riddle and Dickerson will have to hand deliver, or if they come by, that's fine. Any more questions? Okay, thank you, Chairman Box. We'll move right on into the next, which is Administrative Budget and Jail Committee. Okay, hold on, let's put it back up. Go ahead and I need to make a motion. Also, Master Riddle, you should have that in your Google Docs. We will deliver a hard copy to you, as the other two, it is in the Google Docs. So I do want to get a hard copy in your hand. But we do need to entertain a motion to acknowledge receipt of that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any other questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Judge Hill?
Yes, thank you. Okay, Chairman.
Okay, on Tuesday, April 13th, we had administrative and jail committee meeting. Mr. Sarton, I kind of led that. I think he, Kenneth, I don't know if you can speak. I don't know if you got sick or wasn't able to get on. Anyway, we went on and went through the agenda, and I'll just turn it over to Aaron if he would, or Kenneth if they want to go down these line items. Had that meeting April 13th at 3 p.m.
Okay, we're gonna need to get a mic.
I think he told me to stand here and pick up.
You good?
Okay. First thing we went down through was the inter-county contracts. That was with Metcalfe and Monroe counties, and we discussed on that. Last year we went down to $34 per day, and with the committee, they were kind of agreeing to go back to $40 a day.
Do we need to make a motion to move that we decided in that committee to do that for us now? I'm gonna make a motion to move that 40.
I'll second that.
We have a motion second. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Judge Hill?
Yes.
The next thing we discussed was just kind of bringing to attention federal inmates about housing federal inmates at Barren County Detention Center.
And there's no action correct on that, that's just information
Yes, sir.
that you need on that.
Yep, that was the only thing on that.
Does anybody have any questions on federal inmate that wasn't at that meeting? If not, go on down to the next line item.
The next one, the state highway departments and the state inmates. We do have one state highway department road crew back out. We have one young lady right now on FMLA, and as soon as she comes back, we'll be looking at getting the second one out on those contracts with the state highway department. With those, so we do have them out. They are picking up trash. They're doing very well on the state highway. On that. That was just
any questions on the state highway? If not, number 5, medical contract.
Next one, number 4, medical contracts. I know in the meeting, we looked at going with Western Kentucky Medical. On further review of that, I would like to continue my contract with Southern Health Partners. Western Kentucky is an LLC, while Southern Health Partners, they are, a corporation. They've been around for 27 years, very successful. This other company, which is, they're just a small dollar amount difference between contracts, but I think it'd be the best interest of the county to stay with Southern Health Partners.
We need action. We need action on that. Yeah. You got a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, questions? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Squire Riddle.
Yes.
Squire Coomer.
Yes.
Squire Bowman.
Yes.
Squire Sarton.
Yes.
Squire Houchins.
Yes.
Squire Botts.
Yes.
Judge Hill.
Yes, thank you.
Next on the agenda was a Secures contract meeting. That's going to be next week now. It got pushed back. It's going to be next week. It's just to make some amendments to our current phone systems for the residents at Barren County Detention Center. Just got information letting you know what's going on there.
Any question? Okay.
The next was commissary. Just talking about the commissary, what doing with it. I have went with Kelwell as a commissary company. I've gone with them. Is there any questions on the commissary?
Yes, I had requested per budget, that we get a detail of what you sell and your markup currently in commissary. I think the concern in the budget committee can comment, if we're gonna outsource 55% of the commissary, which is one of the top revenue things that you have, I think you had stated that you could make the same amount of money, and we're kind of figuring out how can you make the same amount of money if you're gonna outsource 55%.
It's, with the commissary, it's right there about, you know, each item is marked up, obviously, for that. And now we don't have, when you outsource it, we're not paying a deputy to do the buying, to do the ordering, it's not a position that we'll be having a full-time deputy covering right there. So that deputy can go back into, you know, in the rotation on a shift where they need to be at, and it's not taking up space whatsoever there. And just, you know, that deputy salary and benefits alone.
I know we talked pretty good on this, and as a business owner, and one of the things, and I'll go back to the road department, we decided last year to, this is just an example, to mow in-house. We just got that back. $15,000, $589 roughly, the mowing cycle. If someone on the transportation committee, what was the cycle cost?
$60,000.
$50,000. So you got $60,000, 17. I use that example as a business in our committee meeting. I wouldn't want to give. It's kind of the same thing. You're getting that company and you're giving them half that money. I want to keep it in-house. I just don't understand why we're giving 50% away. I know you're talking about salary, but I just thought maybe you would have really pondered on that before you done it. That's just an example. We're saving the county by mowing in-house. That was just my thought. You're running the jail. I'm just showing you what happened in the transportation by doing it in-house. We already have contracts come in. But that's just my comment. How long was the contract?
It's just a user agreement, basically. They have permission to use their app and the kiosk, and they be allowed to allow from that.
So
They can be terminated at any time.
Okay, so we tried and it doesn't work, see that we're losing money or whatever, we switch back.
Yes, sir.
If there's a shortfall, who covers the shortfall?
Shortfall.
Well, if there's a shortfall in the commissary, because we're outsourcing.
The numbers should be very relatively the same.
I still don't understand how it can be the same if we're outsourcing 50. I think Deputy Penn said 55%.
We were basically, how the commissary works is, we were making about 50%, 45 to 50%. And that's what we continue to make as revenue on that.
I like making 100%. And, you know, that's just me.
Well, what I'm saying is buying the product and then the markup, it isn't, we're not splitting the revenue source of that. We're talking about the buying of the product, the price that it's at, we're still making that same commission off of those products between 45 and 50%.
I'm just.
We don't distribute anything, they distribute.
They bring it to us. They bring it to us. It's already bagged with everything that's in there for the resident. We go around basically with the bag. I did it last night, hand it to them. They look at it, make sure everything's in there. They dump the bag, give the bag back to me, and they sign the paper receipt their items.
Are they buying this stuff cheaper than we could?
Yes.
That's where they're making their money then.
Ken and Pat, I mean, you're the chairman of the jail, how are your feeling about that? I mean, just talk.
I think what works for the jailer and saves an employee's salary and time, as he said, I think that's the way to go if the money's the same.
I mean, if y'all are thinking this, I'm just looking at it on a business standpoint. If you, I may not be seeing some things. I apologize if I'm not. Just may not be seeing.
My question is this, are we actually reducing a deputy?
We're not reducing a deputy. We're already short that deputy that's doing commissary, not doing that.
But in total, will we be reducing a deputy due to this?
Yes, due to that. I mean, I passed out last night. Took me about an hour. The whole jail.
Okay. But I'm sure the deputy has other duties too.
Yes.
So.
So let me take a step back there, where we're also saving a lot of money on this, that's just with the commissary. Certain items like phone cards and e-cigarettes, where the majority of the profit is made, that is still done in-house. That's where the majority of the revenue comes from, is phone cards and e-cigarettes, so those are continuing to be done in-house.
I guess from the standpoint of liability of the county is anytime we buy or sell to someone outside the county, that should be in the form of a contract. So if there's a shortfall, if it's a contract between the Barren County Detention Center and Kelwell, the shortfall still would come back to the Barren County Fiscal Court because it is, or should be a contract. If the Barren County Fiscal Court contracts with Kelwell, we still have to absorb the shortfall. Either way, we're going to have to absorb if there's a shortfall, because we're only allowing the detention center so much money in the budget. Now, I would ask the county attorney if she's on, if she could shed a little more light to this, as well as the liability to the county. Catherine, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. So I agree that anytime any department contracts with someone outside the county that, there is liability, potential liability for fiscal court. And I would just say, in looking at the statutes, I believe then that you would just need fiscal court approval to change or to enter into any type of contract with an outside source.
Catherine, I got a question. Can you hear me?
I can.
Did you review KRS 441.135?
Let me take a look at that. 441 what?
135.
No, I had not previously. What I had looked at was KRS 65 and 67 in reference to the powers of fiscal court. I'm happy to take a look at this, Jailer Bennett, if you all table this issue, and I can give you a more thorough opinion on this, but based on the fact that it would be a contractual issue and it is subject to the county liability, based on that, I believe KRS 65 and 67 gives the approval or mandates approval by fiscal court.
Is there action to table?
Are you asking me, Judge?
No, I'm asking.
No, I'm
Is
asking.
there action
Is there
to
action to
table?
I would say
Kenneth and the committee can just follow up on that and give us a report of what. If we're not saying something illegality, let Catherine look at it.
Kenneth, you can comment and let you all in the jail oversee what we really need to do on the commissary. I'm fine with whatever the committee.
So you've already started going.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're already in the process of going with it.
Jailer Bennett, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you, I looked up the cameras that you just asked the,
County attorney.
County attorney about. Can you give us your take on that? I don't have it in front of me.
Well, my take on it says the jailer may maintain a canteen for the benefit of the prisoners lodged in the jail and may assign such jail employees and prisoners to operate the canteen as necessary for efficient operation. Then it goes into all the profits of how the canteen be benefit to enhance the well-being of the prisoners or to enhance the safety and security within the jail. And it says the jailer shall keep books of accounts and receipts and distributions of the canteen, and they shall annually report to the county treasurer on the canteen, which we do at the end of the year. We always give a report to that, to the treasurer. Allowable expenditures for canteen accounts shall include but not limited to recreational, vocational, and medical purposes. And then it goes into how much canteen may have to have with so many prisoners, how much has to be into the account. And that is really about it when it comes to the canteen. It's up to the jailer. How I read it, it's the responsibility of the jailer whether we have one or if we don't have one.
I would just interject that I absolutely agree with that, Jailer Bennett. I'm looking at the statute right now, and I do think that it gives you the authority to decide whether or not you have one or you don't have one. I don't think that alleviates the need for fiscal court approval when entering into a contract or, I mean, technically a user agreement would be it's still a contractual obligation. I don't think it alleviates the need for fiscal court approval for that.
Okay, it's on my line, I don't get up there, so apparently what the attorney's saying, we need to see a contract. I guess it's just verbal, I guess it's not real, so we need to get a contract presented to the fiscal court and get it approved.
Meanwhile, what do we do? I think we have to take action on this for temporary action sometime. What is the name of the company again?
Kelwell Commissary.
Kelwell?
Yes.
Pronouncing that right? I make a motion that we would continue with Kelwell to assist us with commissary until as a temporary status until we can do something there.
What is the annual cost?
Annual cost. Basically, what happens is the inmates they'll make their purchases. It goes directly to Kelwell, and then once Kelwell delivers it, once a month they cut us a check for what our commission is out.
We're gonna have to have a second before.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, Master Riddle, second by Coomer. Questions?
I guess my question is, do we know the numbers on this?
Well, just yesterday, the numbers yesterday on sales yesterday was just short of $1,500 for commission.
Well, I appreciate the feedback. I guess my question was, do we know the numbers on what we, from last year, how much revenue the commissary generated? And then if we go with an outsourced contract to Kelwell,
paying them, it's 10%, right, in order to do this. So are we still going to be whole in the end? In other words, I'm just going to throw some numbers out there. I don't know what the number was for the commissary, the revenue that was generated. I don't have it with me there. I'm sorry. I'm hesitant there too to put that out. But anyway, so if it was I'm just going to throw, and this is not a true number. So for example, if it was $100,000 generated revenue for the commissary last year, with you looking at outsourcing this to Kelwell and paying them 10%, are you still going to net $100,000?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna have to look at. I mean, I don't have the numbers here with me. I don't know.
Okay. And to me, that's what makes sense. I mean, if we do, I mean, and you're talking about it's going to free up a deputy to do other duties. I mean, so.
The Kelwell, and Jennifer and I have had this conversation a few times, and I've done all the research on Kelwell, if I pronounce that properly. Just they do it for a living. This is their bread and butter, and they do it on a volume basis. And I don't think that there's no way that we can send people out, shop for this stuff, bag it up, make sure that the right stuff is in the right bag, and we still have to distribute it. But I don't think that we can do that. That's just my opinion. And if the profit margins are 50%, or the markup is 50%, Kelwell's doing it. And shipping it to us, all we have to do is hand it out. Profit margins are the markup is 50%. If we're doing all the shopping together, to me, it's a no-brainer. I think we should go with Kelwell. But I mean, it's just the way I see it. I'm not trying to step on everybody's toes. I just think it's the right way to do it.
On the motion,
If the markup is the same, then as Aaron said it is, then I don't see the benefit of doing it.
Yeah, I think Trent and I are saying the same thing, but saying it differently. If at the end of the day, there's not a cost to the county, and we're, in essence, we're netting the same amount of money, outsourcing versus us doing it in-house with a deputy.
We're looking at,
that's the way to look at it.
If you just average off the first couple sales, I mean, you're looking at anywhere between $160,000 to $180,000 a year in profit for us.
The only way we're gonna find out is try it. That's my recommendation. If we're not doing anything illegal,
That's my recommendation.
go for it, see what the shortest contract period of
Go
time.
for it, see what the
We'll
shortest
do a
contract
6-month
period of
contract,
time.
look at the
We'll do a
numbers.
6-month
If they're
contract, look
not,
at the
then we
numbers.
switch back.
If
I mean,
they're
it's that
not,
simple.
then we switch back. I mean, it's that simple.
Sounds good to me.
call for a vote.
Call for a vote.
Okay, we have a
Okay,
call
we
for a
have
vote.
a call for a vote.
Let's put the motion back out there again.
All right, state the motion.
Motion was made by Squire Riddle, second by Squire Taylor, to continue with Kelwell to assist with the commissary on a temporary status until we get this up.
Do we need to amend that to 6 months or
6 months or
10?
10.
Well, I guess it'd be up to Catherine as far as the legality of making sure we're not doing anything illegal. If we're not doing anything illegal, yeah, I would amend the vote. I mean, the motion to test it for 6 months. Kelwell will give us a contract for 6 months, and that would put everything on a legal status, and we see what the results are. I don't know if commissary or jailer or Bennett, is it a seasonal? Is there one part of the year that you normally sell more?
Well, sometimes it's more in the summer just because there's more inmates.
Yeah.
I mean, just being honest, the more inmates are there, the more they buy.
we'd want to just make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
Squire,
Apples.
Yes, go ahead.
Squire Kumar, to answer your question, I don't believe there's anything illegal about you all approving this on a temporary basis, or, I mean, to be frank, or even a permanent basis. All I was saying is I do believe that it requires fiscal court approval. And so, if you all can make that, if you all approve it, then they're fine to proceed with Kelwell.
What about me on motion to, say, temporary status that we do this thing in the calendar year?
We already have it.
In my motion?
Master Chairman, did you not make the amendment? Yeah. You might like to second that. His amendment was to go on a 6 month basis. Is that correct, Master Chairman?
I mean, I'd be willing to hear their discussion on that if we need to.
Get a second.
That's long.
We'll get a second. Okay. Question.
I mean, you think 6 months would be a fair time?
First November?
Just further on that, Aaron, I mean, what I would like on that, when you present that, you know, when you report on that, give us the numbers for the 6 months, and then also compare it to the previous 6 months.
And
In-house.
is that a report you do monthly?
It's the report on that one has to keep it constant where it's at.
Is there a way you can give us like I don't know, this might be a Jenny question, for the same months from previous years?
Yeah, I can do that.
Last one we received was 2018, the annual report. It's the only one we have, 2018. So I guess my discussion with the court is we're actually approving something that we don't have, which is a contract. Okay, so we can go ahead with your motions, your amendments. I'm going to vote no either way because we're approving something that we do not have in hand. And we've moved on with the outsourcing with the company outside the county. And I feel we are in violation of approving something here, not having a contract. Hey, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
What, Catherine, you care to comment on that? Please.
Well, essentially, that's exactly, as the motion stands now, that's what you are doing, and I agree with Tail on that. We don't have a contract that you've seen or read, or the user agreement. Now, I'm sure Jailer Bennett Jailer Bennett, you said there was a user agreement, and that probably could be supplied to fiscal court so that you have it and can vote relatively quickly on that. But you know, for all intents and purposes for this motion, you are essentially voting on a contract that doesn't yet exist. Now, the only other thing I would maybe suggest or you might could consider is a vote that approving the ability to enter into a temporary user agreement so that since we're already doing it, since the jail's already doing that, and at least there would be something on the books as far as fiscal court taking action to allow that change to Kelwell and this user agreement. But yes, I agree, you're voting on a contract that doesn't yet exist, and you don't know what the terms of it are or anything like that.
And I do want to go on record as stating, I do agree with your KRS 441.135. It is up to the jailer whether or not you have a canteen or not, but it's up to the court whether or not we have a contract to have a canteen, to sell. because again, just looking for the liability. But I do agree with your KR.
All for a vote. On the amendment.
Vote's been called for. Roll call vote, please.
Squire Kimmer,
Yes.
Squire Bowman,
I have to vote no since we're not in compliance.
Squire Sarton,
No.
Squire Houchins,
No.
Squire Bott,
No.
Squire Riddle,
Yes.
Judge Hale.
No.
Roll call vote on the amendment fails. Roll call vote on the motion.
Squire Bowman,
Well,
State that.
it gets back to the original motion that to continue with Kelwell to assist with the commissary on a temporary status until we get this up.
is that with the contract?
There was no mention of a contract, that was the word.
No contract. Wasn't that.
We still will not be in compliance. I have to vote no.
Squire Sarton,
No.
Squire Houchins,
No.
Squire Bott,
No.
Squire Riddle,
Yes.
Squire Kimmer,
Yes.
Judge Hale.
No. Next.
Next on the list was the body scanner usage. I would recommend and ask the court, if we're going to talk about the body scanner, to go into a closed session for the safety and security reasons for the jail.
County Attorney Thomas, what do you advise?
I don't know that falls within an exception to the open meetings. Could we move this item on the agenda and let me double check that? I don't want to violate any Open Meetings Act provisions.
And the last thing we have is the jail budget, but I believe with the May 17th meeting, yeah, I think we'll be able to discuss there.
100%.
Okay.
May 17th.
So what action, we'll move, I'll go ahead and make a motion to move the discussion of the body scanner usage to the end of old business to allow the county attorney to do research on the closed session item.
I second that.
Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Sarton,
Yes.
Squire Houchins,
Yes.
Squire Bott,
Yes.
Squire Riddle,
Yes.
Squire Kimmer,
Yes.
Squire Bowman, Judge Hale.
Yes. Okay, building and property, Master Coomer.
Yes, Building Property Committee met, first line item was Ford Drive property, the old jail that we've seen like been struggling with the last few years. Of course, COVID has slowed everything down, all the grant issues and everything else. We did find out we're gonna have to get three bids on asbestos abatement, so right now we're waiting for those bids to come in. Quotes, I'm sorry. And thank you. We did have some from last year, but we didn't have enough. They've got to be rebid because they're out of date. Second line item is the West Main Street Facility Construction Plan. That's the location next to the county attorney where we tore the old building down. We're looking to build a new child support office there to move it right there next to the county attorney's office. It's going to be so convenient, plus it's just going to be a lot better for the whole system to work, I think. And then there's some discussion about above that building, a rescue home for people that lost their home to fire or any kind of natural disaster, maybe a place for them to live for a couple of weeks or something until they get back on their feet. To find something, since we're already building, there was a two-story building there previously, and it's set up to match into the rest of the design of the office square there. That needs to be a two-story building. I think it looked right. As far as the rescue There's been some question about, how we're gonna decide on who gets to use it. We have a list of requirements and things that people have to do if they're staying there. A lot of rules and stuff, so it's not just they can do whatever they want, stay as long as they want. I'd like to make the motion that we get some bids, right? Bids. For this construction, all the master shops should receive the floor plans of how it's going to be laid out. It was also brought up maybe we could see what the maybe get bids as far as finishing the child support office and maybe just plumbing out the upper unit of the upper area to see the difference in the cost. Then if we decided we didn't have the money now to finish it all, we could finish it later. Or if that's what we want to use it for, or if there's some other use we use it for, if we decided not with the rescue, use it for the rescue home. So I'm going to make that motion to receive two separate bids to completely finish the downstairs and just stub out the upstairs and then a bid for completely doing both.
We have a motion.
Second.
Thoughts? Questions? Roll call vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you have a design for this project?
Did we not download those? No, I think only the building and property have them at this time. We will get those to you. We do have a build design. We sure do.
It did have to go through the was it the Renaissance?
We haven't met with the Renaissance. I had made that request with Mayor Armstrong to be in front of the Renaissance for their blessing on this. So.
We just want to make sure something blends in, doesn't stick out like a sore thumb the rest of downtown.
So does the design of this project, is it also include the, what we need to do to maintain the wall, stabilize the wall, and how we're going to handle that?
No, it does not.
So that would be extra?
Yes, it would be.
We would probably extend the retaining wall around behind the county attorney's office. So we have to get rid of that as well.
Well, we're going to connect it with the breezeway, and we'd be more than happy to get your opinion on that. Maybe with Master Coomer to see how far out we want to come with it. If you want to work with him.
Be fine.
Okay. Perfect. That'd be good.
Judge.
Yes, sir.
If you'd like a date on that Historic Preservation Committee, they met for the first time last night, and they elected their officers, and we've got you on the agenda with your plans and specs for the next meeting. They set it up intentionally to look at your information. I think it's May the 13th, but I'll have that email too.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
And the Building Property Committee, you all are invited to attend with me if you'd like to. So, okay, any more questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Squire Box?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you.
Next line of business is the health department through something that's been a problem that we put off for quite a while now. It needs a new roof, still leaking. Health department is agreed to work with us on the cost of this. Actually, I think our amount that we're, of course, it's based on a percentage of property taxes. I think it's 2.5%, that we have to give them every year for running the health department. They've agreed to help us out with the roof, so we're in the process now of advertising for bids to replace the roof on the health department, and hopefully we'll be able to get the health departments to pay for the majority of that out of our contribution to them. Any questions about that?
You want to put that in formal motion to move forward?
Yes, I'd like to put that formal motion. We do advertise for bids for replacing the roof on the health department.
Second by Bots. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Kimmer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchin?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes.
The last item of business for the Building and Property Committee is the Government Center roof. Government Center roof is deteriorating. It's nothing that's causing problems at the time. It's just a matter of time. I just want to mention that so we can maybe possibly put that in the budget for next year. Something that's going to have to be replaced before we get to the point where we do start having leaks and causing more damage. So no action needs to be taken at this time.
Okay.
If wanted in the budget, do we have any kind of calls? So
we can I can get a
rough estimate if you're going to line item.
I'll have that for 17.
Thanks, Chairman. Emergency management, solid waste. Chairman Bowman.
Yes, Judge. We met, emergency management, solid waste met on April 14th, and our first item of business that we discussed was the litter abatement grant. We applied for that, and we did receive the grant in the amount of $55,000. Do we need a motion to accept that grant?
No, we took action on that last August.
Okay. We did apply for the grant, we didn't get it, and so we covered that. The next item that we discussed, trash for cash program, of course. I'm sure I'm not the only one at times that gets calls about litter on the sides of the roads and things of this nature, and so the trash for cash program, what that is, for those that's got a hard copy, it's called the Barren County Trash for Cash, and we're looking at trying that and picking up trash. It would be $100 per mile if we're picking up both sides of the roads. We're going to set a goal for 100 miles. And so we're looking to set aside $10,000 for the trash for cash program. And it was decided in our committee meeting that we'd move forward with this. I know our new solid waste coordinator, Jamie Cummings, has done a lot of work with this. And Jamie, if you'd like to share some comments on this. Be very much welcome.
Yeah, so after the meeting, we reached out. We talked to about 4 or 5 nonprofit groups that are interested in picking up trash in our community. We're going to see about it, starting out about 5 miles per group, how well they do. If we still have money left over, then they can do more days. We just would like to probably advertise it a little bit more and see if we get more groups interested.
Okay. So, Judge, we need a motion on to move forward with the Barren County Trash for Cash.
Yes, that's correct.
In the amount of, we're going to set aside $10,000 for this program.
So moved.
Did you make that motion?
Yeah, I was making the motion.
Okay, so Kenneth, like second. Questions? And this is already a line item in the budget, it's just had zero in the past few years, so. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Kaler?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchin?
Yes.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you very much.
And the next next item that we discussed on April 14th was contract for picking up trash. And what this is, this would be contract labor, and it would be for, you have to be at least 18 years old, and we would pay $10 an hour, and we're going to set aside $10,000 for this also. And I think that also there's a hard copy for that, describing that. And Jamie, if you want to talk a little bit about that, that'd be appreciated too.
Yeah, I made that flyer, that hard copy that you have, just an advertisement to put out. It's going to be the $10 an hour. Right now, we don't have a set number of days per week, having to go out and do visits, trash complaints, and depending on if I need to be with the crews, depending on how many days a week they would work. We have went to a job fair. Judge Hill has, and since they're going to be over 18, it was for the high school seniors, something they can do home for summer and not having to travel for jobs. And I think we're looking about maybe up to 6 employees.
Okay. So on this, we need a motion.
Yes.
So I move that we move forward with the contract labor to pick up trash in the amount, and that we set aside $10,000 for this program.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, Mr. Houchins, questions?
Just, I'm sure this has been run by Catherine as far as liability.
Yes, we discussed that at the last meeting, I believe.
Okay, since it's contract labor, it takes liability out of the county.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good question.
Jamie, you said employees, but what you probably meant to say was contractor.
Yes. Sorry about that.
So do these contractors have to furnish some general liability? And do they have to have a business license?
I don't think you're required a business license in the county. And I believe the 1099 takes the liability off the county. County attorney.
I agree.
And I would like to say, this is not replacing the jail crews. We do appreciate all the hard work that they do. It's just a little extra help, because with them not being able to go out the first year because of the COVID, it's just helping them get caught up.
And this money's coming from the grant, so this is not like it's coming from the general fund, so it's coming from the grant. Okay?
Both, as Judge Hale mentioned, both of these, the Barren County Trash for Cash program and the contract labor pick up trash is coming both from the litter abatement grant money that we have.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Squire Kaler?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchin?
Yes.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you.
And Jamie, if you report on our cleanup week that we.
We had a great turnout for our cleanup week this year. We collected over 165 tons of trash at our location. Our top two locations being Temple and East Barren. We did choose to pull out some recycled metals this year. We received around $732 from pulling recycling. We are looking to hopefully have a mini cleanup week. We'll call it probably about 2 or 3 days worth. In the fall, we had a lot of interest brought up during different locations. People asking if we could do a smaller one in the fall.
Okay. Appreciate that. There's no action on that line item. Appreciate your efforts there. The next one is report and discuss the pilot, the dumpster pilot program that we had just started earlier this year. So, Jamie, just a quick report on that. We appreciate it.
And we're looking into possibly providing dumpsters for some house locations that are reported into me for violations. It's discussed that they would be liable to pay back to the county for how much the landfill fee is, and that we would possibly cover just the dumpster being dropped off and picked up. There are some possible requirements that we would look into to see who would qualify for that.
Okay. Thank you. And our next line item, grant application, Kentucky Office of Homeland Security. This is something that we normally apply for, but this year we chose not to apply for the grant because we need more time to research the equipment needed. And Tracy, do you have any further comment on that?
No, that is correct. It's offered annually, and this year we needed to put it on the agenda just to make sure that we could get it if we wanted to apply for it. But after doing research, we elected to wait, and we're not going to apply for it this year.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy. So there's no action on that one. And then our last item was a generator purchase for emergency management. And what this is, so I will leave up, I'll make the motion that we create a PO up to $6,500 maximum for a repeater tower, which is located on Pine Ridge, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. It's going to be a generator. It's going to be backup power for the tower located on Pine Ridge, where we have some repeaters located. Right now, we don't have any auxiliary backup power. If the current goes out, that repeater goes dead, which is never good in emergency services. So this would allow us to put a generator up there. We've been assured that would be a worst-case scenario price. So I want to limit the PO up to $2,500. Hoping it comes in much lower than that, but I request a PO for that.
Okay, so I move.
I do have the money in the budget as well, so it will be coming out of this budget. It's already in the budget.
Well, thank you.
It's important.
Thank you. That's very important. Tracy. So I move that we create a PO up to $6,500 maximum for a repeater tower for emergency management.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Bowman, second by Sarton. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchin?
Yes.
Squire Bott?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you. Jamie, did you want to announce the entire amnesty since we're still under solid waste?
Yes, if I can. We are now doing the tire collection again. It's every 3 years, I believe, in our area. We will be doing that June 24th, 25th, and 26th.
So that's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And this year it will be at the Barren County Transportation Department, so our road department, instead of the state road department. We're going to be advertising that there are some restrictions on the types of tires, and no businesses can bring their tires, but we'll have that out shortly in the media.
Thank you. Okay, Parks and Recreation, Chairman Riddle.
Parks and Rec, met on Monday, April 19th at the board. We have four items on our agenda for discussion. Number one is the Barren County Baby host the Ohio softball tournament. We held on July 1st through July 4th. Hosting tournament is $7,500. members of Park and Rec committee believe we can forward with this. So I would like to make a motion that we do so. Move forward, host the Ohio Valley Park, hosting fee costs $7,500. Also, make a motion that we appropriate funding for this and be paid out accordingly as is due.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second, Master Calkins, question. Roll call vote.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchin?
Yes.
Squire Motts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Judge Hazel?
Yes, Chairman.
Chairman.
The second item is we have the playground equipment. We've had some general discussion. Looked at some pictures of types of different commercial playground equipment, swings, slides, and that sort of thing. It's my understanding that we do not have any funds in the current budget to purchasing this equipment, so there's been no action taken there. And the cost of the equipment that we're looking at, realistically, good commercial playground equipment, time to get it in there. When you get it installed, it'll be protected ground, we're looking at about $1,000. I think the budget is going to be looking at some of the come on for that, but right now, any questions about that?
Any questions? Okay.
Third item is solar equipment. We've been kicking around solar. I've been kicking around solar for a couple of years now. Doing some research on it. Renewable energy is here to stay. It's alive and well. I think that at some point we have to be serious about it, and maybe start making some investments. But right now, due to lack of funding and space, the committee just don't believe it's a good fit for that. Any questions about that? No question.
There's not.
And I want to go and say, looking down through days and years, I know I've seen American Robin, LLC Solar is here to make a presentation.
Yes.
What we're talking about, what I'm proposing to the Parks and Rec, and the discussion that we are having is absolutely no way affiliated with Robin Solar.
Okay, thank you for making that known.
The last item is field grooming equipment. Our grooming equipment out there is it's just kind of running on its last leg. We're going to have to purchase some equipment at some point in time. And again, they're looking at about $20,000. I think it's a minimum. And we don't have any money on this year's budget to do that. I think the judge had said that we have to borrow or rent some equipment to get through this time. It's a cost that's coming up, and it's something that we're trying to look at the 2021 budget if possible. No action.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Transportation Committee.
Transportation Committee met this week, and the first item we're going to talk about is the material and supplies for the road department, and we sent it out for bid specification. I think we were going, Michael had something put on it anyway. I can't remember what it was you had wanted to add to it.
No, we just need to take action. I do have a small report for transportation, but we just need a motion to put this out for bid.
Yeah. I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion, we have a second, Master Sergeant. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Squire Motts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton,
Yes.
Judge Hale.
Yes, thank you.
The second thing is agreement with the Kentucky Transportation Committee on a road aid fund agreement, and I'd like to make a motion on that.
Motion?
Motion.
Mr. Coomer, second. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Bott.
Yes.
Squire Riddle.
Yes.
Squire Coomer.
Yes.
Squire Bowman.
Yes.
Squire Sarton.
Yes.
Squire Houchins.
Yes.
Judge Hale.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
The next item is the road saw, and on the reverse bid on it, I think we got it for $107 a ton. And I don't know where, is anybody from the road department online?
Susan is.
Susan, you want to talk about that?
Yes.
We had, they sent us a lot more bids on the salt. The lowest bid coming in at 107, which is Compass, which that's who we had this last time. We had a good turnout with them. We didn't have any trouble. We called, we ordered it, we got it in a timely manner. Currently we have 200 ton in the bin right now, and the bid was for 300 tons this year.
Okay. We need to have a motion on that, Judge.
Yes.
I'll make that motion to accept the 107
Did we have a motion?
tons.
Second, Mr. Coomer, questions?
Just want everybody to be aware that salt is considerably higher this year, just so everyone knows, because I think so much used last year, the stockpiles gone down, plus transportation costs. If I'm not mistaken, would it maybe $30 or $40 a ton higher this year, is that right, Susan?
Yeah, this last fiscal year, we paid $76 for it.
So I just want everyone to be aware of that.
How many times do we use this past year? Or this year?
About 300.
It's gonna be about a $9,000 or $10,000 increase.
Because when we started the year off this last winter, we had a full bin, which will hold approximately 300 tons. And then we had 200 more brought in.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
The last item we got here.
We gotta vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Roll call.
Squire Riddle.
Yes.
Squire Coomer.
Yes.
Squire Bowman.
Yes.
Squire Sarton.
Yes.
Squire Houchins.
Yes.
Squire Bott.
Yes.
Judge Hale.
Yes, thank you.
And the last item we got is update figures on the rural secondary program funds. And I don't know what that is, but you need to make a motion on that.
Yes, we do. They originally had sent us a form, and the numbers were not correct on the flex funding. That flex funding went down some. You should have that in your packets, but we need to acknowledge that.
I'll make that motion. That we acknowledge it.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion, we have a second. Mr. Coomer, questions?
Have all the roads from last year, from the rural secondary program been completed?
No. I think they knocked two of them out in your district this week. And they're starting on.
All right, thanks.
Roll call vote.
Squire Coomer.
Yes.
Squire Bowman.
Yes.
Squire Sarton.
Yes.
Squire Houchins.
Yes.
Squire Bott.
Yes.
Squire Riddle.
Yes.
Judge Hale.
Yes, thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. So, we need to take up the action of the body scanner usage. That'll be the last item of the old business. I had asked during the committee meeting, Deputy Jailer Penn said that there was a KRS that supported being able to scan certain folks that came through the jail. I did meet with Jailer Bennett. He provided me with A CAECO criteria of searches. What I did not see on there was body scanner usage. I did give that to the county attorney to review. So I'd have to have her input on that.
Yes, I did review that, and it does relate to searches and strip searches of intake at the jail. There are limitations with regard to searches, strip searches of individuals coming into the jail, and certain criteria that must be met in order to do that. And some of those things are things such as having coming in on a drug charge, or having prior drug charges, or history of that. Coming in on a commitment order, opposed to, if someone has a commitment order and knew they were coming and going to be there, that might be a reason why you would do a strip search. With regard to the body scan, though, I don't see that those limitations apply to the body scan. I have checked, I think this is relevant, and I have checked with other counties and other jails in our area to find out if they are using any of those things. And in fact, some counties had even required attorneys meeting with their clients at jail to go through those body scanners. So I don't feel that the information that I've been provided so far would limit the jail's ability to scan inmates as they are taken into the jail. I see it as an issue of security for not just that person, but also other inmates and the staff at the jail.
Catherine, are body scanners required at jails?
They are not required. And there are jails about the Commonwealth that don't have, that don't have the good fortune of having one of those machines. They're costly and require special education to operate effectively, and so not all jails have them. But I spoke with several that do have them, and it's my understanding we have one and have the ability to do that as people come in.
Could I ask, would explain this? We're not 100% sure. Are you wanting to use a body scanner on some people, but not everyone?
Yeah, we don't scan everybody that comes into the jail. And the reason being is, say if somebody never been arrested before, they're there on, say, a check being bounced. They have $100 cash bond. They're coming in. People are there to pay their bond. They come in. Once they come in, of course they still get, patted down and everything by the deputies. They still, head to toe. Everything like that. They get booked in, they pay their bond, and they leave. There's no reason. It's a tool. It's just an extra tool, like a set of handcuffs or anything else. It's up to, to a certain degree, if there's that reasonable suspicion, if somebody has something on them. If they come in, if we have knowledge, maybe they've tried to been charged with promote contraband before in the past, or anything like that. Definitely if they have felony charges. If they're going to be put in general population, say they come in, pre-trials contact, and they don't get a bond, or they get a high bond, they're not going to be getting out. They get body scanned, then put back in the general population. But do we use it for everybody coming in? No, we don't. There's no requirement that we have to use it or anything like that. They will use it? Yes, we do. But on everybody? No, we do not.
Is it just? I've seen it, but is it just a matter of time walking through it?
What happens is they stand up on it, and then it actually moves them through it, and then back through again.
So how long are we talking about?
Well, if it hasn't been ran, it's in there, so we haven't had any intakes or anything like that. For it to heat up, it may take about 5-10 minutes for it to heat up, and then going through it, you're talking 10-15 seconds back and forth.
Would that be better than patting them down, just check them out? Quicker?
I believe so. They still get patted down, no matter what. No matter what, they get patted down from head to toe.
Is the body scanner just pick up metal or?
It can kind of pick up anything, but it's definitely going to stick out metal on there. But you definitely got to know what you're looking for. Yeah, if somebody has a knife of some sort, yeah, it's going to pick up on that. Whoever the arresting officer was probably should have picked up on that before they'd even made it that far. Anything like that. You know, if somebody, it's going to be hard, like if somebody ingested something, or if somebody tries to hide something in a cavity per se, it's going to be hard to identify those items. But if somebody had, for say, like a razor blade on them, and it was turned facing the camera, to get that little bit, it's going to be very hard to identify that through the body scanner. But is my deputies in their pat down, are they going to be able to identify that? Yes. A lot better.
So I guess my question is, we have this nice piece of equipment, body scanner, and it was several $1,000s to purchase that, and I'm sure one of the reasons that we purchased it was for not only safety of the residents coming in, when you put them with other residents, but also the county employees, the jail employees, and also you. So if it's only going to take a few minutes at the very least to use this, and it's just another step in safety for both the population, the residents, and our employees. I don't understand why we wouldn't use it every time.
Like I said, I mean, I don't know your wife from Adam, but she comes in there, I run her through that. Literally, I'm seeing every body part on her. I'm seeing her like an in front of me. And she's just there for $100 cash warrant. We have knowledge she's never been arrested or anything like that before. You're standing behind me at the bonds window, ready to get her out. There's no need. She's going to be patted down by the deputy. Like I said, it's just another tool to use. And it can be a double-edged sword. Let's say somebody does ingest something, and it's not identified, and something happens to that person. Now what? First thing the attorney's going to say is, you ran through that body scanner, you didn't identify that.
What are we saying here? We're saying that what's the question actually is? We're saying that we feel like that everybody that goes in the jail should be running through the scanner. Is that our argument here?
I think from a legality standpoint from the county, we have and he's right, we do have a tool. We have a great tool here. I think that when people are brought in, they need to be scanned because we have that tool. If someone did come in and something did get past the deputies and the pat down, and we did have an employee to have bodily harm or even death, then we're subject to litigation. So I guess my statement would be, why would we not use it? Why would we not use that on someone that's being arrested and being brought to a facility that we're in charge of, and the liability of, and the liability on the employees? And then if it's, and I haven't been around the scanner in a while. I was there when the scanner was first brought to the county, and I thought it was a great tool, what I see. But I guess from a liability standpoint, everyone that's arrested and brought in needs to be run through the scanner. So that would be my stance.
So just everyone that has been arrested, or that's what we're saying. Just everyone's been arrested prior to looking, they have to be run through the scanner. That's what we're saying.
I think if they come in our, well, I think if they're coming in our facility once they come into our facility, if something happens, the liability is on us, regardless. The liability will come back to us.
And would that, the liability would go back to us since we have that body scanner, correct?
I think a
I
lot
mean,
of
if we,
we're gonna be live. I don't know who's scanned and who don't.
I guess my concern on this, it's a tool to be used, and I know the fiscal court can make their decisions, but it's going to come down to if we get somebody out of cells being a little unruly, maybe they're mad, do I need to handcuff them or do I not? Do I need to use that tool? That's still I know, and I'm just saying, it's a tool, like any other tool. It's on the deputy's discretion, if they see that, if it fits that criteria, or if they have reasonable suspicion.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the employees of the detention center and obviously the inmates.
I am too.
So, and I just think that this is a tool that needs to be used. I don't know, I take the legal opinion of the county attorney, if she would like to give hers.
Well, my opinion and what I was asked to look into is whether or not it's constitutional to utilize the body scan on individuals coming into the jail. And my answer to that is yes, it is. The research that I've done and the interpretation of the statute that was provided to me from you, Judge Hale, it's my understanding it's what Jailer Bennett gave you. There are limitations with regard to strict searches, as those are seen as being more invasive. There were some questions about what the body scan would pick up or what the purpose of that was, and I will say that in doing my research on this issue, I feel confident in telling you that the body scanner, what it's going to look for and pick up are going to be objects that are more dense than what the body should be. That's what's going to highlight. So some drugs may not show up on a scanner, even if they are hidden in cavities, as Jailer Bennett had indicated. But it really depends on the density of what is on that person, on whether or not it's going to show up. It is a tool. It's my opinion that you are better off scanning everyone that comes into the jail that is arrested. For liability or potential liability purposes, you're better off to scan everyone that comes in than to scan only a select. I mean, if you're going to have it, then scan everybody, or don't have it and don't scan anyone. I don't think there needs to be an in-between, because then I think you really are subjecting yourself to potential liability that otherwise you may not have to be exposed to.
Okay. If I could ask Gentleman a question, I guess with the way you've currently been using the body scanner usage, you're making judgment calls. Okay. Has there been cases where you've made a judgment call, you did not scan that person, and then had to go back and scan them?
No. If they go to general population, they'll get scanned and everything like that. We've had officers come in right away. They say, hey, these strip searches, when they were digging here or there, we don't even put them through the body scanner. We, have multiple deputies with them.
Right, but my question is, if you had the case where you made a judgment call not to scan, and then for some reason
take them back to
the scanner.
What's the difference in your scanner than the one over at the courthouse?
I don't know. The courthouse got it. I think that's a metal detector when you walk through. Mine will actually show me an image. I can see every fat roll on you, basically, like it tears off the clothes, and I see all your, in your case, manly parts and everything else.
So basically, what they have over there is a metal detector.
Yes. And mine is an image. And what it does is it picks up the density. You know, is it going to pick up, you know, something hard like metal? Yes. Is it going to pick up some fentanyl or some heroin? If somebody has it in their system, it's going to look very similar because it's the same density as the bowel that's in your body. And to be able to identify that is going to be very difficult.
Maybe you can tell me what's wrong with my back.
Might be able to tell you if it has a curve in it or anything.
Is there any other questions on this? No? Okay. I want to go on record and I want to state that I feel that we need to use this body scanner on everyone that's arrested and brought in. And I'm saying that because of the liability of the county. That's what I was elected to watch out for, along with defending the general fund. And I just want to make sure that I'm put on record as saying that I feel like that this could, if we're going to pick and choose, that this could create a liability for the county and also could cause bodily harm to our employees. Thank you. Okay, new business. We have Mr. Tim Eifler with Stoll Keenan Ogden P. LLC to address the court on the proposed American Robin Solar LLC industrial revenue bonds. Mr. Eifler, are you still on? Well, okay.
He's showing still on, sir.
Okay. Well, we will. Does anyone need a break?
Damn. I just gotta stand up.
5 minutes. Let's just take a 5-minute break.
check, 1, 1.
his back would just get into spasms. Boy, you had a mess.
Get us back on.
I'm working on something with my back, maybe it'll help.
All right, let's resume. We'll have Mr. Tim Eifler here to present. Mr. Eifler, you have 10 minutes, sir.
10 minutes, okay. Thank you. Thank you all. First, I apologize. I picked the absolute worst moment to step out, so I'm sorry I missed the call earlier. My name is Tim Eifler. I'm a lawyer with Stoll Keenan, and I represent American Robin Solar, which is a solar project that's being developed, hopefully in Barren County, by GeneX Solar and EDF Renewables. And the project's already received a lot of public discussion. There was a public meeting held where sort of the details about the project were discussed, and the public was able to ask questions and get answers. I do believe they've been in front of the fiscal court once before, and my understanding is there will be another public meeting sometime later in the year, similar to what was held before, to again discuss the project with the public and allow questions to be answered. My purpose today is to talk about industrial revenue bonds, which is basically an economic development incentive. So there are a number of renewable energy projects that are potentially underway in the Commonwealth. And all these projects, they compete with each other. States compete for sites for these projects. So one of the important things for these projects in Kentucky is industrial revenue bonds, which again is basically an economic development incentive. At the end of the day, while it's a bond and it looks like a financing, what it really is a method to obtain a property tax abatement on the project during the term of the bonds. And one thing to keep in mind, when we talk about property tax abatement for solar projects, we're not talking about the land. So typically in these projects, the land is owned by people in the community. Typically, we're talking about farmland. That would not be part of what we're talking about today. We're really talking about the project assets themselves, which of course are assets that are not there currently, not currently in the tax base. I should mention that there's a couple of projects already at the Kentucky Siting Board. That's sort of one of the steps in the process of developing these projects. You have to go to a state board that's tied in with the Kentucky Public Service Commission, and there's an approval process there. And the projects that are at the Siting Board already have their industrial revenue bond approvals from local government. But that's something that is important to the American Robin project. We're not asking for any kind of approval today. My purpose today is to kind of explain what it is, give you information on it, let you have time to think about it. We certainly want to be able to answer any questions you would have about it. And our goal would be to come back later in the year, in the fall, and actually seek a formal approval. And that approval will be in the form of the adoption of a resolution, what we call a bond inducement resolution. I do have a PowerPoint. I'm trying to be quick here. I did send it. I don't know if you'll have copies of that in front of you. Ms. Jones has it, so it'll be in the public record. But I'm going to share my screen. If this works. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So again, American Robin Solar is the project, and they're looking at Barren County. And, there we go. Basically, this is a merchant power plant. So we're not talking about your retail utility. These projects, they're large projects that generate electricity that is sold into the transmission grid. So these folks won't be out. They're not an alternative to your local provider, but they are a generating source of electricity that your provider may offer the opportunity to sell renewable energy from this project to you. But again, this project is selling into the grid, selling to other utilities that would be buyers, and they would sell this power on a retail basis. And it's what we're all familiar with. It's Basically, it's a field with solar panels mounted, and all they do is use solar energy to convert to electricity. And the goal here for this project is, the approval process takes some time, but our intent is to have the project ready to come online sometime between 2023 and 2025. And the nice thing about these projects, as opposed to, say, a manufacturing plant or a normal electric generating station, is they generate minimal noise and traffic. There's no smells, no pollution, and they have minimal impact on the surrounding community. Part of the design features are, we certainly want to minimize the impact to the community of having the facility in the community. So we'll have the appropriate setbacks for the facility itself, and there'll be vegetative screening around it to mitigate the visual impact of it. So let's talk about industrial revenue bonds. I'm sure the fiscal court is familiar with bonds. You issue them all the time for your own public facilities, whether it's sewer, jails, that type of thing. That's not the type of bonds these are. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you about them is, well, they are somewhat common. We do find some jurisdictions haven't done them before, so there's a bit of a learning curve. And it can sound worse than it is, but at the end of the day, the key thing to remember here is that the county, in participating in these bonds, is really just acting as a conduit. So you are not the obligor, you're not the borrower on these bonds. These are not general obligation bonds for the county. You're just serving as a conduit for the company on these bonds to do their project, and at the end of the day here, to obtain the property tax abatement. So there's a series of statutes in KRS Chapter 103 that govern the issuance of these types of bonds. Statutes allow any city or county to issue them. KEDFA can actually issue them as well. And they're basically just a type of economic development incentive. Unlike other states, Kentucky does not offer renewable energy incentives. So the only incentive that's available for these types of projects in Kentucky is industrial revenue bonds, whereas if the project were developed, in North Carolina or other states, there's a whole series of incentives that are offered. So when projects are looking at locating in Kentucky versus other states, the incentive offered by the bonds here are substantial. It's important to the project. And basically, it's a method for the project to finance its capital assets. Real property and personal property. But again, here we're not talking about the land. For American Robin, this financing will be internal. When the county issues the bonds, either American Robin will buy those bonds itself, or some affiliate of American Robin will buy the bonds. So it'll be an internal financing. The statute that governs bonds, KRS 103-210, basically says the purpose of the bonds is to promote economic development in the environment of the issuer. So again, this is about industry. This is about a means to have projects located in your community and spend money in your community. And the key language in the statute is you can finance anything that constitutes an industrial building, which is a defined term, and that includes basically all real and all personal property associated with the project. There are certain kind of categories of projects that can qualify. So for this to be available, you have to fit within one of 15 categories, but clearly the biggest category is manufacturing, and that's certainly what a solar generating station is. The language of the statute says that you can issue industrial revenue bonds to finance anything that, any project that involves manufacturing or processing of a commercial product. And it's been the tax law in Kentucky forever that the generation of electricity constitutes manufacturing. The Attorney General issued an opinion back in 2001 confirming that electricity is a commercial product, so there's no question that this falls within the statute. The legislature, back in 2000, recognizing that bonds are really the primary economic development incentive available for solar projects, actually amended the statute to put in a specific reference to solar generated electricity. So what they are and how they affect the county is critical for your decision on this. We talked about the county being a conduit. The county issued the bonds, but the sole person responsible for repaying those bonds is the company, not the county. The debt is secured purely by revenues from the project and from a lease, is what we're going to talk about in a second. So the cash flow from the project is pledged to repay these bonds, not county revenue. The bonds are not a general obligation of the county. You're not pledging your tax authority. You're not pledging your credit. And importantly, it doesn't impact your borrowing capacity. So when it comes to, when you go out to the market and borrow funds for public projects, there's some constitutional limitations on how much debt you can issue, basically. It's a function of your tax assessed value in your county. These bonds don't impact that calculation at all. So they don't use up your borrowing capacity in any form or fashion. And the maximum term for the bonds under the statute is 40 years. Okay. So why is it important to the company then? Well, the answer is the property tax abatement. And the statute's basically provided that any assets that are financed by an industrial revenue bond, where title is nominally held by the issuer and the project is leased to the company, those assets are exempt from state and local property tax for the term of the bond. And what the statutes basically do is they divide up the interest of the property. So in any leasing structure, one person has title to the asset, one person is leasing the asset. So what the statutes provide is that the issuer, while it owns the project, the assets are exempt from property tax, just like any other property, public property used for public purposes. The leasehold interest is what the project will actually have in the assets, and there's a set of property tax statutes in Kentucky that say that the leasehold interest is exempt from local property tax during the term of the bonds, and is subject to a low state-only property tax rate. So again, this is an economic development incentive, and the purpose of it is to provide a property tax abatement for the assets.
Yeah, your time's up, Tim. Time's up. Yeah, your 10 minutes is up. Can you take some questions?
Sure.
Yeah. So I want to start off with how many jobs would this create for our community on the start?
Well, I don't have the details on the project yet. Certainly before we come back and ask for anything official from the fiscal court, we will provide you that information. But typically with solar projects, your job creation occurs up front. The jobs are created as part of the construction process. There's an emphasis on local hires for the construction. So you will see a lot of activity as the project's being developed between now and, let's say, 2023. A lot of jobs, people coming on site to actually build the facility, and there's a ripple effect associated with that. And the company will be doing a study on that we have to do for the Kentucky Siding Board. There'll be local expenditures associated with that, as well as all those workers are there. But once it's up and running, typically there's minimal jobs after the project is placed in service.
Mm-hmm. And go ahead, Mark. No, go ahead.
Have there already been land leases in Barren County and adjoining counties with solar?
Yes, there have.
And what kind of length or term are associated with these leases?
My understanding, and again, I'm actually a tax lawyer, not a solar one, but my understanding is that they're typically, the process is they will go and they will option up land. So they will get options to lease as part of putting together the project site. And then once the leases begin, when construction begins, and they typically will have, I think, a maximum of a 30-year term.
Okay, thank you.
So, again, I think you stated that if this is something that the fiscal court agreed to do, this would not affect our bonding capabilities in any way.
That's correct.
So I guess my question would be, why would you need us then?
Simply because the statute says you have to be the issuer of bonds in order for this structure to work.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
Okay.
And honestly, Your Honor, Judge, these bonds, the set of statutes that govern these bonds are no different than the bonds that you would issue, say, for a local hospital that's owned by a 501c3, or if you've ever done any kind of other revenue bonds like pollution control facility. It all falls under the same set of statutes where in order for the company to get the benefit, they have to come through the county for the bonds to be issued, but they are not your obligations, and you're not using up your borrowing capacity anyway for those types of bonds.
Okay. So basically, the long and short of it is, you guys are asking for tax relief for
That's absolutely right.
Okay. So what about the people that own the land? I'm sure they're going to continue to have to pay their tax.
Well, so the way these leases work, in any normal leasing structure, the lessee is required to pay the property taxes, and that will be the case here. So, yes, the land value will go up. Once this project's placed in service, the land comes out of ag value and is taxed at fair market value. So, the value goes up, the taxes will go up on the land, and the company, as the lessee, will be paying those taxes. And those will not be abated because the land is not part of what we're talking about here.
My question would be, if I'm not mistaken, farmland is adjusted rate. So since this won't be being used for farmland, the value of the land could go up. We could adjust that. It would no longer be farmland. Is that
That's
correct?
correct. It will go up substantially. As soon as you change the use from farming to something else, the agricultural valuation program no longer applies.
Okay. Any other questions?
How much per acre is involved?
On the rent,
What's the leasing price going to be per acre? You have any idea?
that I don't know. We will, when we come back to the fiscal court in the fall, we'll have specific information on all of that. Because typically, when the land moves out of ag value, gets taxed at fair market value, the value of the land is determined through some capitalized value based on annual rent. So that rent will determine the new value.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Can you hear me, Joe?
Yes.
I have a quick question. So basically what you're saying is the leaseor and the leasee both understands that the property tax will go up. I mean, they understand that their property is no longer going to be agricultural, but it's going to be a commercial type property. The value is going to go up on that property, which will generate more revenue for the county. But then there will be no taxes. What you're proposing is there will be no taxes on any of the equipment that is on this piece of property. Is that correct?
That's the way I understood it.
You're muted, Tim.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
So let me talk about this briefly. Even without the bonds, manufacturing equipment is not subject to local property tax. So the only portion of the project that would receive a local property tax, dollars that would not be coming to local government, would be the fencing, the security system, and the piece of the project that connects with the transmission line. Everything else, the panel, the inverters, the transformers, and that's all considered manufacturing equipment that wouldn't be subject to local property tax anyway without the bonds. The reason why the bonds are important is that those assets are subject to state property tax, and so the bonds will provide an abatement of state property tax on those generating assets.
That answers your question.
It does. So the state will not be able to collect property taxes on the improvements that are placed on the property.
It'll be much lower. They'll get a much lower rate on the leasehold interest.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, again, Tim, thank you very much, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on. We'll proposed use hearings for the local government economic assistance and county road aid. Actually open this up for public hearing for comments. Okay, I'll close it and move on. The Barren County Conservation District to present their annual budget plan of work for the 2022. I don't know if we've got anybody on there, Tracy, or not.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Kenneth. Anything you want to talk about specifically, Kenneth?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I don't have any specifically. You all have the budget, I'm sure, in front of you. And we're just requesting $60,000 from you all that we do each year. And the budget, the total receipts for the district is $671,000, and the total available is $981,000. And $574,000 plus on that is the state and state cost share programs, which is provided back up to farmers who apply and qualify for the programs.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Edwards? Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you very much, Kenneth.
No, we appreciate it very much, and I would like to thank the fiscal court while I'm on about the prompt mowing and the tree trimming that we are getting this year. I appreciate it very much.
Well, we appreciate you saying it. The court has decided to go in a different direction. I believe it's paying off.
Well, so far it looks like it has, and I appreciate it very much.
You're very welcome. And so we need to entertain a motion to acknowledge the budget from the
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Bots Bowman, second. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchen?
Yes.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you. The Barren County Extension District present 2021-22. Mr. Schalk,
Yes, sir.
anything you'd like to say about the budget?
Just that y'all have got it, I think a copy of it, and I think it's been always asked in the past. We're actually, from what we submitted last year to this year, it's a reduction of 75,000, a little over 75,000, so we're just a little bit of a budget reduction.
Any questions?
We like budget reductions. What caused it? Mr. Chalk?
We had some personnel to leave.
Okay.
And I don't think at this time we're gonna be able to replace that. So that's kind of basically where that comes in.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Chris? If not, a motion to acknowledge.
I move that we acknowledge that.
Second.
Bowman, second by Houchins. Roll call vote.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Next is the Highsville Volunteer Fire Department with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security Grant radio purchases. I think we had someone on earlier representing the Highsville Fire Department.
I think we still have Steve Coffey on. I believe he represents him, don't he?
Mr. Steve. Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and let our court clerk start the conversation.
If you will remember, back in August of 2020, you all authorized the purchase of radio and authorized the PO and the payment. After that, we received information from the state saying that the equipment that we purchased was incorrect equipment, not agreeable with the grant. So in those discussions, the Highsville Volunteer Fire Department has voluntarily reimbursed the county for that purchase. However, we still have the grant available to us through June 30. So we have 3 quotes that you all have in front of you all for approved, eligible, reimbursable equipment. So if we could do that and approve that and get this information and get the PO today and authorize the payment due to the time of the essence matter today, that would be great, and we'll work this out with the Highsville Fire Department, get reimbursed by the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, and be squared away on this.
I'd like to make that motion.
I second that.
Motion by Mr. Coomer, second by Mr. Botts. Any questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so approve payments of claims as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Botts, second Coomer. Questions?
I just had one question. When I was reviewing the claims, I noticed most of the dates were 4/30. I guess that's the date that we paid that claim.
Today.
Okay.
What we're voting on.
That's not the date of the invoice, that's the
That-
date, that's today's date.
Okay.
That's the only way we're authorized to pay it.
Okay. I guess,
It's not the date of the invoice, it's the date of the payment.
okay. Thank you for clarification. Were there any POs that were submitted that were old, though? That we'll be aware of?
Not that I'm aware of on this
Okay,
submission.
all right.
We'll bring them to your attention if
All right,
so.
thank you.
Mhm.
Roll call vote.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you. Approve transfer of funds.
Make that motion.
Mr. Coomer,
Second.
second by Master Houchins. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you. Approve budget adjustment.
Motion.
Mr. Botts,
Second.
Mr. Coomer. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Squire Coomer?
Yes.
Squire Bowman?
Yes.
Squire Sarton?
Yes.
Squire Houchins?
Yes.
Squire Botts?
Yes.
Squire Riddle?
Yes.
Judge Hale?
Yes, thank you. Approve monthly financial statement March 2021, subject to audit.
So moved.
Mr. Houchins,
Second.
second Mr. Bowman. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Squire Bowman,
Yes.
Squire Sarton,
Yes.
Squire Houchins,
Yes.
Squire Botts,
Yes.
Squire Riddle,
Yes.
Squire Coomer,
Yes.
Judge Hale.
Yes, thank you very much. Approve official settlements, March 2021, subject to audit, the county attorney, county clerk, and the sheriff.
Make that motion.
I'll second that.
Coomer, second Master Bowman. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Sarton,
Yes.
Squire Houchins,
Yes.
Squire Botts,
Yes.
Squire Riddle,
Yes.
Squire Coomer,
Yes.
Squire Bowman,
Yes.
Judge Hale.
Yes, thank you. Personnel actions, you have those.
So
I
moved.
move.
All right, Houchins, second by Bowman. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Houchins,
Yes.
Squire Botts,
Yes.
Squire Riddle,
Yes.
Squire Coomer,
Yes.
Squire Bowman,
Yes.
Squire Sarton,
Yes.
Judge Hale.
Yes, thank you. Approve quarterly financial statement ending March 30th, 2021, subject to audit.
I make that motion.
Second?
Second by, motion by Coomer, second by Botts. Questions? Roll call vote.
Squire Botts,
Yes.
Squire Riddle,
Yes.
Squire Coomer,
Yes.
Squire Bowman,
Yes.
Squire Sarton,
Yes.
Squire Houchins,
Yes.
Judge Hale.
Yes, thank you very much. The last, which is the economic development report, we do not have to approve this agreement. We've already took the action that we needed to take. So the ball is kind of back in Cave City's court to approve. They've done that this past week, Monday night. So, but what I do want to put up there, Tracy, if you'll put those paving pictures up, I just want to give y'all an update on the investment in your paver that you voted to buy. So, and you all received the email, and we're trying to break that down for you as to what it's actually costing. And Susan may chime in, but I believe, and had a discussion with Master Coomer, when we chip sealed anywhere from 20 to 25,000 a mile. So, but we also had to go back when it turned off really hot because the road would bleed with oil and we'd have to dust it. So that's more man hours, more material. So you can kind of see what we've started here. I think we're on to something awesome. We're going to target dead-end roads. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of calls to say, hey, my road, what about my road? And hey, we'll get there. We will get there. I appreciate Master Bowman and Master Sarton, who came out the other day to watch this thing in action. I don't know that they were very pleased because we were the first. It was the first time we'd ever run a paver before, but it's a real learning experience. But as my operations manager stated, a lot of the roads just do not have a good base under them, and that's one of the reasons why we have so many potholes and the mud coming up through them. So we're hoping this is going to be something to preserve and help with these roads. You know, if we feel like it'll go a little faster next time, we're going to have to go back and straighten that road up just a little bit because it was the first time. So we're going to have to adjust some of our equipment to back up to the paver. We're going to be using some of our older trucks hauling this coal mix, and but I'm excited. The guys at the transportation department is excited because it's something new. It's something that no one's ever really fooled with. But again, I challenge you all to come out, check it out. If you have suggestions, ideas, hey, we're open. We are open to it. So again, I just kind of wanted to show you what you guys voted to buy, and here's your return on investment, and wish us luck.
There was some talk about getting the guy who used to run this thing to come down here and give us some pointers. Is that still going to work?
Yes, and Scott will be in communication with him.
Good.
So
That's what I'm saying, Judge. It's all coming down to management. We're mowing the roads. We got the comment from Kenneth Edwards. You know, just, that's what we're seeing. If you can do stuff in-house, it just works out a lot better. Thank you all. Thank you for managing and the management at the road department. I'm hearing all but good.
Well, and a lot of that praise needs to come back to the court, because it's, you know, it's you guys that allow us to do it. So we appreciate that. Okay, I don't have anything else. There was any questions on this? I have nothing else. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Coomer?
Second.
Second by Botch. You are adjourned. Thank you.